On December 31, 2025, the Central Intelligence Agency issued a GLOMAR response about an interstellar comet. If you're not familiar with that term, a GLOMAR response is spy language. It means we can neither confirm nor deny the existence of such records. It's the same phrase used for classified military operations, for covert intelligence activities, for things the government doesn't want to acknowledge exist at all. This was the first time in history that language had ever been applied to an astronomical object. 6 weeks earlier, NASA held a press conference and told the world that 3I Atlas was definitely a comet of natural origin. Case closed. Nothing to see here. So why won't the CIA talk about it? That's just one of the questions that still has no answer. And there are others. A lot of others. A jet of material pointing directly at the sun, extending 400,000 kilometers, when every law of physics says it should be blown in the opposite direction. 3 smaller jets arranged in perfect geometric symmetry, exactly 120 degrees apart, rotating together like the hands of a cosmic clock. A trajectory that threaded past Mars, Venus, Earth, and Jupiter, arriving at Jupiter's gravitational boundary with a precision that has a 1 in 25,000 chance of occurring randomly. 18 documented anomalies, and the natural explanation that scientists are calling a paradigm shift, it only explains some of them. Everyone had an opinion about 3I Atlas. The skeptics said it was obviously just a comet. The believers said it might be something else. NASA said case closed. The CIA said nothing at all. Here's the thing though, they were all wrong about something. This is the story of what we actually learned, what we still don't know, and what happens next, because in just 6 weeks, 3I Atlas reaches Jupiter, and then it's gone forever. Let's start with what the institutions aren't telling you. The anti-tailjet is the big one. When comets approach the sun and heat up, they release gas and dust. This material gets pushed away from the sun by solar wind and radiation pressure. That's why comet tails always point away from the sun, trailing behind like a flag in the wind. Every comet humanity has ever observed follows this rule. 3I Atlas has a jet that points directly at the sun instead. Not just a little bit. This thing extends at least 400,000 kilometers, which is roughly the distance from Earth to the Moon. It's tightly collimated, meaning it holds its shape, about 10 times longer than it is wide. It pushes through all that solar radiation without getting deflected or dispersed. As one researcher put it, we still do not know the nature of the anti-tail that allows it to penetrate hundreds of thousands of kilometers through the solar wind and radiation without being deflected. That's not speculation from some fringe voice. That's a scientist admitting they have no explanation. Then there are the 3 symmetric mini-jets. Picture a circle divided into 3 equal slices. That's what we're talking about. 3 smaller jets emerging from the object, separated by exactly 120 degrees. They rotate together as the object spins, sweeping across space like lighthouse beams. This pattern has appeared in every single Hubble observation since November 2025. Same geometry, same perfect symmetry, every time astronomers looked. Natural processes tend toward chaos, not perfect geometry. When scientists tried to explain this, the best they could offer was major pockets of ice on the surface. But that raises another question. Why would ice pockets form at exactly 120 degrees apart? The polarization is another puzzle. When light bounces off an object, scientists can measure how it vibrates. This is called polarization, and it tells them about what the surface is made of. 3I Atlas shows negative 2.7% polarization at 7 degrees phase angle with an inversion angle at 17 degrees. That combination has never been seen before, not in any comet in our solar system, not in any asteroid, not even in the previous interstellar visitors. The data suggests a surface composition that, according to researchers, doesn't exist in our catalogs. Then there's the trajectory. 3I Atlas travels within 5 degrees of what's called the ecliptic plane. That's the flat disk where all the planets orbit, like the floor of our solar system. The probability of an interstellar object randomly arriving at this angle is about 1 in 500. And look at the path it took. Close to Mars, close to Venus, close to Earth, close to Jupiter. A tour of the major planets. Some researchers have pointed out this would be the ideal route for something conducting an observational survey. Oh, and it was hidden behind the Sun during perihelion, which is when it was closest to the Sun and experiencing the most activity, invisible from Earth at the most critical moment. The rotation axis is pointed at the Sun to within 7 degrees. Combined with a trajectory alignment, the probability of both occurring together by chance is less than 1 in 10,000. And the Jupiter encounter? We'll get to that. But the short version is this. 3I Atlas will pass Jupiter's gravitational boundary, called the Hill radius, with a precision that matches to within 60,000 kilometers. The probability of that happening randomly is 1 in 25,000. 18 anomalies documented as of January 2026. When you multiply the probabilities together, the combined odds of all these things occurring in the same object by random chance approaches 0. Now, there is an explanation for some of this, and it's actually a major scientific discovery. Scientists call it the cosmic crust theory, and it's being described as a paradigm shift in how we understand interstellar objects. Here's what it means in plain English. 3I Atlas is estimated to be somewhere between 7 and 14 billion years old. That's older than our solar system, older than the Sun itself. For billions of years, this object has been drifting through the space between stars, exposed to something called galactic cosmic rays. Galactic cosmic rays are high-energy particles that zip through the galaxy. They're everywhere in interstellar space, and over billions of years, they slowly transform whatever they hit. Think of it like this. Imagine leaving a piece of wood outside for a few years. It weathers. It changes color. The surface becomes different from what's underneath. Now imagine that process happening for 7 billion years. According to this theory, 3I Atlas started as a normal water ice comet, similar to comets in our own solar system. But billions of years of cosmic ray bombardment created a processed crust on its surface, about 15 to 20 meters thick. This crust is fundamentally different from the original material. The cosmic rays converted carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. They created organic compounds. They transformed the ice into a dense, processed shell. The evidence supporting this theory is strong. The James Webb Space Telescope found that 3I Atlas has a carbon dioxide to water ratio of 7.6. That's 4.5 standard deviations above what we see in solar system comets, among the highest ever recorded. The Hubble Space Telescope also finally measured the nucleus directly, 2.6 kilometers in diameter. That makes it 40 times more massive than the previous interstellar comet Borisov and at least 20,000 times more massive than Oumuamua. On January 22, 2026, astronomers captured something special. Earth passed almost directly between the object and the Sun, creating what's called an opposition alignment. The angle was just 0.69 degrees, an alignment so rare it may not repeat for decades. During this event, Hubble recorded a 20% brightness surge, exactly as predicted. The images confirmed the 4-jet structure, 1 massive antitail and 3 mini-jets at 120-degree separation. The pattern was identical to every previous observation. Same impossible geometry. Before 3I Atlas passed closest to the Sun, space telescopes detected mostly ice. After perihelion, the ice signature disappeared. Instead, organic molecules appeared, including methanol, formaldehyde, methane, and ethane. Water production jumped by a factor of 20. The interpretation is that we're not seeing the original comet, we're seeing the cosmic ray processed shell burning off. The pristine interior is still hidden beneath at least 15 meters of transformed material. As the researchers put it, rather than being pristine messengers from distant planetary systems, interstellar objects may instead carry signatures of processed material shaped by billion-year-scale cosmic ray exposure. In other words, these objects arrive transformed. They're not time capsules from their birthplace anymore. They're records of their journey through the void. This is genuinely important science. It changes how we interpret every interstellar object we'll ever find. But here's the problem. The cosmic crust theory explains the chemistry. It explains why the carbon dioxide ratio is so high. It explains why organics appeared after perihelion. It explains the red spectral color. It does not explain the geometry. Why does a jet point directly at the sun? The cosmic crust theory doesn't address this. Whether the surface is processed or pristine, solar wind should still push material away from the sun, not toward it. Why are three jets arranged at perfect 120-degree intervals? Cosmic ray processing doesn't create geometric symmetry. It's a random bombardment that should produce random results. Why is the polarization unprecedented? The cosmic crust theory predicts certain surface properties, but not properties that don't exist in any scientific catalog. Why does the trajectory align so perfectly with the ecliptic plane? Cosmic ray exposure has nothing to do with orbital mechanics. Why does the Hill radius match at Jupiter line up so precisely? This is about trajectory and acceleration, not surface chemistry. And there's one more chemical puzzle that even the cosmic crust theory struggles with: methane. The James Webb telescope detected methane in December 2025. That shouldn't be possible. Methane is fragile. Cosmic rays destroy it over millions of years, let alone billions. For methane to survive a 7 billion-year journey through interstellar space, it would need to be buried extremely deep, protected from radiation. But if it was buried that deep, how did the sun's heat expose it after just a few weeks near perihelion? The erosion calculations say only the top 15 to 20 meters have been removed. Either the methane was buried at exactly the right depth, or something else is going on. Chemistry mostly explained. Geometry, trajectory, and a few chemical puzzles still unexplained. Scientists also searched for radio signals. This was the most sensitive search ever conducted on an interstellar object. The effort was coordinated by Breakthrough Listen, an international project hunting for signs of intelligent life. They pointed the Green Bank telescope at 3I Atlas on December 18, 2025, the day before its closest approach to Earth. The Green Bank telescope is the largest steerable single-dish radio telescope in the world, 100 meters in diameter. It can detect signals as weak as 100 milliwatts. That's about 10 times weaker than a typical cell phone. They searched across a wide range of frequencies. They analyzed 471,000 candidate signals. 9 of them were interesting enough to warrant closer inspection. All 9 turned out to be human radio interference. The conclusion: 3I Atlas continues to behave as expected from natural astrophysical processes. No artificial transmissions detected. The lead researcher told reporters, "We all would have been thrilled to find technosignatures coming from 3I Atlas, but they're just not there. Finding no signals was the result we expected." Case closed? Not quite. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astronomer who has documented many of the anomalies, pointed out a caveat. An efficient probe wouldn't transmit continuously. It would use compressed bursts. Brief transmissions that could easily be missed. Absence of evidence, as the saying goes, is not evidence of absence. But for the mainstream scientific community, the radio silence combined with the cosmic crust theory was enough. 3I Atlas is a comet, a strange comet, the strangest ever observed. But a comet nonetheless. Except for those unexplained anomalies, and except for the institutional silence. Let's talk about that CIA response again. But first, some context on the NASA press conference. On November 19, 2025, NASA officials stood before cameras and declared 3I Atlas definitely a comet of natural origin. They showed images. They described standard cometary behavior. They closed the book. Here's what they didn't mention. They didn't mention the trajectory alignment with the ecliptic plane. They didn't mention the rotation axis pointing at the sun to within 7 degrees. They didn't mention the geometric anomalies, the symmetric jets, or the unprecedented polarization. They didn't mention the anti-tail that defies solar wind. As one researcher later observed, obviously, if one ignores the unexplained anomalies of 3I Atlas, one would conclude that there is nothing surprising about it. The easiest way to argue that we fully understand something is by ignoring what we do not understand about it. There was also the issue of the Mars images. When 3I Atlas flew past Mars in October 2025, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter captured data from about 18.6 million miles away, relatively close in astronomical terms. What NASA released was heavily degraded, pixelated. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers from over 200 million miles away, more than 10 times the distance, captured clearer data than the official release. This sparked accusations that NASA was deliberately withholding better imagery. Whether that's true or not, nobody outside the agency knows for certain, but the comparison raised eyebrows. Then came the CIA. John Greenwald Jr. runs a website called The Black Vault. He's been filing Freedom of Information Act requests for decades, prying documents out of government agencies. He's the one who submitted the request about 3I Atlas. The CIA's response arrived on December 31, 2025. We can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of records responsive to your request. They added that any such records would be properly classified and relate to intelligence sources and methods. Here's why that matters. If the CIA had no records about 3I Atlas, the normal response would be simple. We conducted a search and found no responsive documents. That's what they say when they genuinely have nothing. A GLOMAR response is different. It means they might have records, but acknowledging even their existence would reveal something they want to keep secret. First time ever for an astronomical object. Greenwald is appealing the response. He's also filed identical requests with NASA and other agencies. There's historical precedent for this working. In 1996, a Freedom of Information request about Comet Hale-Bopp eventually produced a redacted Defense Intelligence Agency report. What would the CIA be monitoring about a natural comet? Loeb has a theory. He suggests they might be watching for what's called a black swan event, something with low probability but catastrophic consequences. Multiplying low probability by high impact equals rational monitoring. In his words, they might be keeping information hidden from public view to prevent panic. Is that true? Nobody outside classified circles knows. But the contradiction remains. NASA says definitely natural. The CIA won't talk about it. Now let's talk about what happens next, because the biggest event is still coming. March 16, 2026. That's when 3I Atlas encounters Jupiter. Every planet has something called a Hill radius. Let me explain what that means. Gravity is like a tug of war. The Sun pulls on everything in the solar system. But close to a planet, that planet's gravity can overpower the Sun's pull. The Hill radius is the boundary where this happens. It's the edge of a planet's gravitational territory. Inside the Hill radius, Jupiter can capture objects and hold on to them as moons. Outside it, the Sun's gravity wins. Jupiter's Hill radius on March 16th will be about 53.5 million kilometers. 3I Atlas's closest approach to Jupiter is forecasted at 53.6 million kilometers. Those numbers are essentially identical, within measurement uncertainty. 3I Atlas will skim the exact edge of Jupiter's gravitational boundary, not deep inside where capture would be likely, not far outside where Jupiter's influence fades, right at the edge. The precise position where something could theoretically be deposited into Jupiter's orbit without the carrier being captured. Researchers have called this the most remarkable coincidence of the entire encounter. And remember that unexplained non-gravitational acceleration, the mysterious push that shifted the trajectory near perihelion. Without that acceleration, 3I Atlas would have missed the Hill radius entirely. Now, there's a physics problem with any speculation about depositing something. 3I Atlas is moving at 66 kilometers per second relative to Jupiter. That's incredibly fast. The escape velocity at the Hill radius, the speed needed to actually stay in orbit, is only 2.2 kilometers per second. For anything to separate from 3I Atlas and enter Jupiter's orbit, it would need to cancel almost all that velocity, 66 down to less than 2. That's a massive change in speed. When comets naturally break apart, the pieces drift away slowly, a few meters per second, maybe a few hundred during dramatic fragmentation events, not tens of thousands. Natural processes cannot achieve this. If a fragment from 3I Atlas enters orbit around Jupiter, the maneuver would have to be precisely designed and intentionally executed. Jupiter currently has 95 known moons. If a 96th moon appears after March 16th, one that wasn't there before, that would be what scientists call a clear technological signature. Because physics doesn't allow it to happen naturally. The Juno spacecraft is currently orbiting Jupiter and will monitor the encounter. Hubble and James Webb will watch from their positions in space. Ground-based observatories around the world will be pointed at Jupiter. Whatever happens, we will see it. As one researcher put it, stay curious and get your popcorn ready by March 16th. Now, in fairness, not everyone finds the anomalies compelling. Jason Wright, an astronomer at Penn State, argues that everything unusual about 3I Atlas is exactly what you might expect from a new kind of comet. One that formed in a completely different star system under completely different conditions. None of them are evidence. It's a spacecraft, he says. There's no reason spacecraft would do these things. There are lots of reasons comets from another solar system would. Samantha Lawler, another astronomer, puts it simply. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The evidence presented is absolutely not extraordinary. Steve Desch, a planetary scientist, claims some of the anomaly calculations are flat wrong. He argues that critics misunderstand how cometary dust responds to radiation pressure. These are legitimate scientific perspectives. Disagreement is how science works. But here's the counterargument. Many of these anomalies weren't predicted in advance. Nobody said before 3I Atlas arrived, a comet from another star system would show these specific features. The explanations came afterward, trying to fit unexpected observations into existing frameworks. And in fairness, nobody predicted alien spacecraft would show these features either. The debate continues. So who's the scientist documenting all these anomalies? It's worth knowing the source. Avi Loeb is the Baird Professor of Science at Harvard University. He chaired the Harvard Astronomy Department from 2011 to 2020. He founded Harvard's Black Hole Initiative. He served on the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. This is not a fringe voice. This is one of the most credentialed astronomers in the world. And his actual position is more nuanced than critics suggest. He publicly states, "The most likely outcome will be that 3I Atlas is a completely natural object, probably a comet." He estimates 30 to 40% probability that it's technological. On his own scale, where 0 means definitely natural and 10 means confirmed alien technology, he ranks 3I Atlas at 4. Even he thinks natural is more likely, but he believes the questions deserve to be asked. His philosophy: science needs to be viewed as a continuous process rather than a finished product. Now, here's what's coming next. In about 2 weeks, on February 18th through 20th, the European Space Agency's JUICE spacecraft will transmit its full data package from the November observations. JUICE, which stands for Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, flew within 66 million kilometers of 3I Atlas in early November 2025. It captured observations with 5 scientific instruments, including high-resolution cameras, spectrometers, and particle detectors. A teaser image from the navigation camera already showed an actively outgassing comet with a visible coma and 2 distinct tails. But the full science data has been delayed because the spacecraft is using its main antenna as a heat shield while passing through the inner solar system. When that data arrives, scientists will have new composition measurements, new particle readings, and new imagery captured from a vantage point no Earth-based telescope could match. Meanwhile, the Vera Rubin Observatory is now fully operational. This new facility in Chile houses the largest digital camera ever built for astronomy, 3.2 billion pixels. It can photograph the entire southern sky every few nights. In just 10 hours of test observations, it discovered over 2,000 new asteroids. Rubin is expected to be the most effective observatory ever built for spotting interstellar objects. Over its 10-year mission, it could find dozens of them, maybe more. 3I Atlas might be the last interstellar visitor we study in isolation. Future ones may arrive in groups, giving scientists the comparison data they need to understand what's normal and what's truly anomalous. 3I Atlas is leaving. After the Jupiter encounter on March 16th, it continues outward, past Saturn's orbit in July, past Uranus in April 2027, past Neptune in March 2028. Then it enters the void between stars, gone forever, never to return. By the year 2189, it will reach the inner edge of the Oort cloud, the shell of icy debris at the outer boundary of our solar system. By then, roughly 8,000 years from now, it will have exited the solar system entirely. This is humanity's only chance to study this object. The window is measured in weeks now, not months. Whatever 3I Atlas is, a transformed ancient comet or something else entirely, the data being collected right now is all we will ever have. So here's what we actually know. An object older than our solar system, wrapped in a radiation-baked crust from billions of years of cosmic ray exposure. A nucleus 2.6 kilometers across, 40 times more massive than any previous interstellar visitor. Chemistry that confirms a paradigm shift in how we understand objects from the void. They arrive transformed by their journey, not pristine from their origin. And anomalies that the transformation doesn't explain. A jet that defies solar wind, geometry that defies chaos, a trajectory that defies probability, institutional silence that defies explanation. No radio signals detected, but also no complete answers. NASA says it's a comet. The cosmic crust theory says it's been transformed beyond recognition. The skeptics say all the anomalies are normal for something this strange. The CIA says nothing at all. Maybe they're all partially right. Maybe 3I Atlas is a natural object, the strangest one ever observed, that happens to tick every box on a very long list of statistical improbabilities. Coincidence upon coincidence upon coincidence. Or maybe there's something we're not being told. Either way, 3I Atlas changed our understanding of interstellar visitors. We now know they don't arrive as pristine time capsules. They arrive weathered by billions of years of cosmic radiation. What we see on the surface tells us about their journey, not their origin. That's real science. That's a genuine discovery. But those geometric anomalies remain. That trajectory alignment remains. That CIA silence remains. February 18th, new data from JUICE arrives. March 16th, the Jupiter encounter. After that, 3I Atlas fades into the darkness between stars. A silent traveler that spent longer reaching us than complex life has existed on Earth, carrying its secrets back into the void. The questions we don't answer now are questions we will never answer. Everyone was wrong about 3I Atlas. The skeptics missed the anomalies. The believers oversold the speculation. The institutions stayed quiet when they should have spoken. What's left is a mystery that's almost solved. Almost. And a window that's almost closed. 3I Atlas is still out there, for now.